There you go. Hey, Eric. How you doing tonight?
Good. How are you, John?
New year, new day, new something else.
Same old podcast.
Same old intro. How you doing?
I was very close to trying to figure out a new music intro to propose yet again.
You are welcome. Like, I have zero qualms with you doing whatever you want. and I know that you haven't complained about that for a couple of years, but, you know, hey.
There's just none that fit, though, that I can, I'm not musical enough to find one that fits.
Sure.
Because this is not a hard-hitting news podcast, and so there's no...
Yeah.
ticker tape kind of noise that makes sense. No.
Oh, that's funny. No.
But holidays are over. Yeah. New year. Have power again. That's good. I was gonna check. Did you get your propane?
New Year's Eve, yes. A couple days after they said that they would be there. Well, we'll be there tonight. Oh, no, they were not there that night. Because that was Wednesday. When we recorded last Wednesday, they were supposed to have been there. And they didn't come Wednesday. They didn't come Thursday. They didn't come Friday. They did come Saturday at some point.
But by that time, you had your power.
But by that time, we had power back.
So now you're prepped and ready for if it happens again.
Yes. Come storm. Try it again. Although... Well, part of my updates is that that storm killed at least one of my beehives.
Aw.
Yeah, I had a log on, or half a log up on top of it, and it must have blown off, and one of the lids blew off. And to be honest, I hadn't been out there for weeks, and we had a storm a couple weeks earlier too, so it could have happened a couple weeks earlier. But I went out because it was so stormy. I went out after that.
Yeah.
But there was only one, and
okay.
And then a little bit later, it must have been maybe New Year's Day, one of the days in this last week. It was warm enough that I actually gave them some dry sugar, and in winter, the bees will kind of gradually eat up to the top of the box, and then if you get into the box in late spring, they'll be like poking their nose out the roof going, there's no food left in here. But anyway, it's all good. It's all good. And I have something bee related in my something fun too. So there you go.
Oh.
So I'll tell you about that.
Foreshadow.
Yeah. How about you? How was your New Year's?
It was nice and pleasant. We went to a friend's house, and there was a pretty good sized group of a bunch of friends, kids running everywhere, and we celebrated New Year's at 9 p.m. So when the ball dropped in New York, we flipped the TV on and gave all the kids what are those things you blow in and they?
Oh yeah. Sure,
the New
I know
Year's
what you're talking about.
Noise makers, and we celebrated New Year's at 9 p.m. Told the kids to go to bed, and then the adults hung out. No,
awesome.
So that was fun. We did a couple other things over the holiday weekend, which actually we did before last week. I forgot to mention last week, but the Benson Hotel in downtown Portland.
Okay.
Has this fabulous gingerbread display every year.
Oh, okay.
And this year it was, I wish I could remember how many pounds of gingerbread and how many pounds of sugar and how many pounds of Rice Krispie treats. It replicated Multnomah Falls. So the famous waterfall that you see on any Oregon travel brochures.
Sure.
It had replicated that, and it was huge. I mean, it was, 4x8, big 3-dimensional replication. It was really cool. And then the Benson Hotel also has a historic stairwell, which you can climb, and they have pictures of all the famous people that have gone through there. The Benson Hotel is where presidents stay if they come to Portland. Famous athletes, NBA teams when they come play, the local, Portland Trailblazers, that's where they stay. So there's a lot of, and, musicians, when they come to play in the arenas there, they'll stay. Anyways, so it was really cool. We went up and through and saw a bunch of historic stuff about Portland in general and famous people and famous things around Portland. And what was funny is one of the things we found in the stairwell was the Paul Bunyan statue, which is actually in North Portland. I was unaware there was a 31-foot tall Paul Bunyan statue in Portland. So after we went through the stairwell, we drove up and saw the Paul Bunyan statue.
Okay.
So that was kind of fun. We did that, before New Year's. Christmas happened. I got my Lego Starry Night, and I have started building it.
Okay.
I have cracked open bag 1, and I am to page 24 of 232. So I got a ways to go.
11% done.
Yeah. So
all right.
I've done that, and then I spent a bit of time this last week kind of reviving an old app that I had kind of let decay
atrophy
a little bit. Atrophy, that's the right word. The Hashtag app. So I revived that, fixed a bunch of bugs, cleaned it up a little bit, and reposted it on the App Store. So
very fun.
You can play with the Hashtag app if you want.
Very fun. That's cool.
There you go. That was my holiday week, just sitting back, playing some video games, playing Rocket League, reading some books, just chilling out mostly.
Taking it easy.
And work kicked in full gear this week, so.
Yeah, it sure did.
Playtime is over.
No more vacation. Back to work. It's good. 2023 is going to be a good year. Hey, I was going to say one other thing that so my brother was here for Christmas.
Yeah.
And then, as I'm dropping him off at the airport, he was like, "Oh, I meant to get some honey from you." And I was like, "Oh, crud. That's the only," like when I was like, "Hey, what do you want for Christmas?" He was like, "Oh, you can give me some honey." I'm like, "Yeah, okay." But then I don't think I said this last week, but the funny thing is I was like, "Oh, I know he plays games. He plays board games." So, I went down to Rainy Day Games and got him a board game.
Right.
But then, like, right after he landed, this is before Christmas, might even have been Christmas Eve, he and I were out driving about, and I was like, "Hey, you still play games or anything like that? Got any new games lately?" And sort of in the back of my head going, "Please, I think so, because I think I hope you'll enjoy the game I got you." And he's like, "Oh yeah, I got this great game just recently."
Oh no, he didn't.
And it was totally the one. Yes, there are thousands of board games. How is it that I bought him the one game,
the one that he just got,
that he had just gotten and had played a few times?
Nice.
Anyway, so that was pretty funny. But anyway, that was just a bit of the side thing. So basically, I kept the game that we bought him, and then we went back to Rainy Day Games after Christmas and got him another one. Let him pick out his own. Anyway, but he brought me a couple of pieces of koa wood from Hawaii, and that's what he gave me for Christmas.
Ah.
And so since I forgot to give him honey, I'm just going to mail him some. But I haven't made any pens for like a year or two. I don't know. It's been a while. Mm-hmm. So and they just like, I don't know, 4 by 10 inches of wood or something like that. So anyway, I cut a couple pen blanks off of it, and I turned a pen to throw in the package for him, which has been one of my fun things that I did this weekend.
Nice.
Although it's been sitting out there, like once a day I've gone out and like put another layer of finish on, because it's really cold outside. It takes a while. Yeah. So anyway, that was another little fun thing I did this weekend.
Oh, fun.
Well, so hey.
All right.
How about topics? I didn't throw anything in follow up this week.
No, I think we can stop talking about LastPass. Yeah. That's been a follow up every week for several weeks.
Oh.
So the things that caught my eye this week are, I'll call them security adjacent. They're not necessarily security, but they're security adjacent. So the first one,
partially security.
I thought this was interesting because of how this technology is being used. So there was a mom and her daughter and apparently a group of people who were going to Radio City Music Hall for the Christmas spectacular show. They go see the Rockettes, go see the show at Radio City Music Hall. And she's going through the line with the tickets, and she gets through the line, and she hears, right as she gets into the lobby, somebody over the loudspeaker, woman with long hair, long dark hair, and gray scarf. And that's her. And security approached her immediately, asked her for her name, made her produce some identification, and she says they told her that the facial recognition had picked her up. And she's like,
interesting.
Okay. She's like, I'm not a criminal, so I'm okay. But apparently she was still kicked out. And the reason why is because the firm, she's an attorney, an associate at a law firm that has a case against Madison Square Garden Entertainment.
Interesting.
Which owns Radio City Music Hall.
Uh-huh.
And they are banning any attorneys or people that work at firms that have open litigation against the company. So your facial recognition is not just for airports and trying to find the bad guys or anything else. It's now, I had never thought of it this way, but it makes total sense. Companies are using it to basically single out persona non grata for reasons other than criminals.
Right. Punitive.
Right. Yeah. And so there's this whole, thing about, law firms are currently being targeted by Madison Square Garden's entertainment, and they owned right up to this. So yeah, we've notified these law firms that they are not allowed on our property, and we will reject them.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess they've sued, and there's a bunch of other stuff. But the poor lady didn't get to go see the show with her daughter, but they were in a big group. So she's like, I sat outside and waited for the show to be over, and, was kind of bummed. So anyways.
Interesting.
That's just my first one that, hey, this facial recognition, I think, will start to be, as it becomes cheaper and easier to use, it's going to be used in ways that we don't expect.
Yeah.
And they're not going to be positive ways, I think. So that was the first one.
Yeah. I don't know about, I'm not sure, what to think about that.
Yeah.
I'm not sure that my first reaction is poor lady. I think my first reaction is, I don't know that it's reasonable, but it's certainly feasible. And I can see other situations where, the line between pseudo anonymity is very blurry. If you're somebody that has gone in and ever shoplifted at a store, for example,
I can see why other stores may not want to allow you in there.
I could totally see. Yeah.
So that was the thing for me, is I've always thought of facial recognition and to deter criminal behavior. This one there is no criminal behavior here. This is just a mom who happens to work at a law firm that is suing a company, and they're even though she paid for a ticket, bought a ticket. Mm-hmm. Now Madison Square Garden says, hey, we notified the law firm twice that none of their people are allowed. And, it's, what is it? We reserve the right to refuse service to anyone for any reason, whatever is legal, which is fine, but it's a weird one. And I'm sure we will see a lot more of this kind of stuff as facial recognition becomes cheaper and cheaper and easier to use.
I certainly agree with that sentiment. We will see a lot more of it.
All right. Okay. And so then my second one, I was mostly just kind of a way to get around a security system. So a driver in Germany lost their license after they had appeared to have fallen asleep behind the wheel of their Tesla while it was on autopilot, and they led police on a chase. So Tesla, driving down the road in Germany, nobody can see the driver. So officers attempt to stop the Tesla, but it doesn't pull over. And it was flying down the road at 70 miles an hour. It didn't slow down or speed up during the traffic stop. It was just cruising down the freeway and just kept the same distance, down the Autobahn. So the officers then pulled up next to the Tesla, and they could see that a guy has reclined his seat, has his eyes closed, and his hands were not on the steering wheel. And so eventually after 15 minutes of the pursuit, so this is going on down the Autobahn for 15 minutes, the guy apparently finally woke up, pulled over. He wasn't under the influence of drugs. But the kicker here is they found and I'm going to read the quote here, a so-called steering wheel weight in the footwell. So this is a device that you attach to the steering wheel to trick the vehicle safety system by pretending that your hand is on the wheel. So driver lost his license. So again, another item there was no matter what kind of rules you put in place you need to, even though you have autonomous driving or whatever going on, our law says you have to have your hands on the wheel. People will figure out ways to get around it. They'll put weights. They'll put, whatever.
Yeah.
I still cannot imagine trusting my life at 70 miles an hour.
Right? That was totally where I was. Like, are you crazy? I don't
care how good it is. There is enough oopses that I've seen around to not. I might.
I'm not going to say never, because the amount of improvements in the last decade is, who knows, in another 5, 10, 15 years, but like not now. But I guess there's all sorts of examples of people like bypassing, life-saving safety measures. And
that's the human experience right there.
And I guess so. Yeah. I mean, there's people that boat without life jackets. There's people that, I don't know. Can I just say, I like my life. I'm kind of attached to being alive.
I'm attached to being alive.
I know just getting in a car is dangerous at some percentage, and I know that like getting on a plane is dangerous at some percentage, but like you can't live your life in fear, but do you have to live your life stupid? I mean, I try to think from other people's perspectives. I'm not good at it.
Yeah.
But I try to think, and I cannot. This does not compute.
See, I think to this point might be willing to get behind in a vehicle that was fully autonomous if I was in downtown in the city where I know the car would never be going more than 25, 30 miles an hour. Like a taxi.
Like one of the cruise
yeah, something like that. I think I could. I think mentally I would be willing to take that leap. I would not be driving down the Autobahn with no speed limit asleep. So that's just that's the one that kicked me here. So anyways,
I don't know.
And that the guy thought about it enough to have a steering wheel weight so that he could cheat the system. He knew what he was doing. It wasn't like, I fell asleep.
Hey, Eric, have you ever written software in your life? Do you know how software works?
I do.
I'm guessing this person does not know how software works.
Anyway, so those are my two security adjacent. Mostly security.
Very nice. Very nice. Very nice. Very nice. All right. Okay. I have two. Maybe my two are security, not just adjacent, I guess. So they'll make up for it a little bit. Maybe. So my first one is a dependency confusion attack that happened against PyTorch over the Christmas holiday. So PyTorch is a Python machine learning framework, and it evidently had a dependency called I thought I pulled it out of here. Triton something. Torch Triton.
Torch Triton.
Yeah. But it was pulling that dependency from a private repository, but PyPy will prefer to pull dependencies from the actual PyPy package index instead of a third-party index.
Right.
And so somebody clearly was able to recognize that this Torch Triton didn't have a package in the PyPy index, created a malicious one, and then any users that installed the nightly versions of PyTorch between, I didn't pull out the dates, but it was like Christmas and
December
New Year's.
25th and December 30th. Yeah.
Oh, thanks. They got a little present in addition to a
little extra something.
a little Christmas miracle. So what did it? I didn't pull out all the but the owner of the site that all of the data was exfiltrated to claimed that it was a security harvesting experiment. As opposed to anything bad. But they did send up the Etsy password file, so that's a clear indication of a innocuous, benign experiment, right?
Yeah.
Sorry, that's John's editorializing. That's not in the article here at all.
Ethical research. That's what it's called.
Yeah, sure. It said that the module, the malicious module, was almost 100% identical to its legitimate counterpart, except that it made a change to run this malicious binary called Triton for harvesting the sensitive data. And the mitigations, so they renamed their dependency. So instead of Torch Triton, it's now called PyTorch Triton. And they registered a dummy package on PyPy to basically,
right.
Name. What am I saying? Reserve the name. Typo squatting, but name squatting, I guess,
right.
on the name, which seems a little something must not register on that, because if you actually have a dummy package and it's pulled in preference, then anyway, they must be doing something else. Like maybe they have a version requirement and they only put a different version on the other one. Blah blah blah. Anyway, I don't quite know what they're doing to get around having a pure dummy package up there. But anyway, that was my first one.
Supply chain.
Software dependencies, supply chain. Yeah.
Lateral movement.
It is not a simple problem.
No.
It is not a simple problem, and it will only become more prevalent, I think. So there you go. My second one, and a much longer article, is on a researcher who got so quote is, "I was recently rewarded a total of $107,500 by Google for responsibly disclosing security issues in the Google Home smart speaker."
Nice.
Yes. So this is an awesome article, because I love articles that lay out, not just, hey, here's the generalities, but like very specifics. And this is a deep article. With, all the essential commands and descriptions of setting up, the different man in the middle, like man in the middle proxy, and, having to root an Android device so that you can put the, man in the middle root CA in, so that it, you can actually intercept SSL traffic and, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So, super cool article. But let's see. The net of this, though, is they noticed that it wasn't very hard to link a new account to a Google Home device, a different Google account.
Oh, right.
And once you have an account linked, you can control that device, including things like snooping on the microphone and stuff like that. And so, the first thing they had to figure out how to do was how to link a device of their choosing. So, the first solution actually required you to be on the Wi-Fi network, the same Wi-Fi network as the Google Home device. And since you're on the network, you can, send it a request to get, there's an unauthenticated request that will give you a little bit of information like the device ID. And then you can, with the device ID, send a request to a Google server that will link your account. And, the little bit of stuff and, the reverse engineering of, the protocol or actually the protocol buffers and stuff like that are being sent in the APIs is they figured out how to do that. But then they're smart. So they also then figured out a way, I thought I pulled this out, but of sending, a Wi-Fi packet to, what was it called? A deauth packet. You can send a bunch of deauth packets to the device just, over the air. So you don't have to actually be on the Wi-Fi network. So you don't have to, get somebody's Wi-Fi password or anything like that. You just have to be within wireless range to send a bunch of these deauth packets, at which point it can, the Google Home will disconnect from the network and make its own. And then you can connect to the Google Home's private Wi-Fi network and do the same thing. So basically, all you have to do is be within Wi-Fi range of one of this is all fixed, by the way. But once you were within Wi-Fi range of one of these speakers, you could basically take it over. And then, what are some of the attack scenarios you could do? Since you have control, you actually can enable listening on the speaker. You could, let's see, what did he do? So the first POC was to spy on the victim. So the second was to make arbitrary HTTP requests on the victim's network. So basically use the Google Home as a Trojan horse. And then the third was to read and write arbitrary files on the device itself. So, there was a way to control, it says DOM set file input files and page set download behaviors on to do the, what does it say, Chrome DevTools protocol. So, anyway, this was a super long article. I blew past just a ton of details and stuff like that on here, but
I skimmed through it earlier too.
Definitely worth the $100,000. I don't know how they got to $107,500. Clearly there was I don't know. Bonus. Maybe he said it at the bottom. Maybe I didn't. I assume maybe a couple of 50Ks and a 7,500K or something, but. Tons and tons of detail in here. It's a great article. So, well done. I don't know if there was a name in here. I didn't catch it.
Yeah.
But, anyway, that was cool.
Really cool. All right. You ready for something fun?
Give me something fun.
All right, John, what was the plot of the Neil Stephenson book, Termination Shock? The basic plot, right? What was the purpose? The gun.
You want the big sulfur gun.
Yeah.
To reverse climate change.
Yeah. Well, What if I told you that a startup is launching weather balloons and releasing reflective sulfur particles into the stratosphere, basically attempting to do solar geoengineering?
Did they read? They got a preprint of Termination Shock.
Did they not read the end?
I didn't.
Anyways.
It literally is sulfur particles?
Yeah, that's exactly what they're doing. So it's controversial, and this is an article in Technology Review, and it's obviously controversial, and the company that's doing it is trying to sell cooling credits, hey, give us $10 and that cancels out 1 pound of carbon in the atmosphere, or something like that. They're trying to, fund this project and do it. And they're doing it in Mexico because I think they wouldn't be able to legally do it in the U.S. But it's a longer article, but that's the gist of it, is someone has actually decided to turn science fiction into reality.
Wow.
Using the idea behind it of, hey, if you can put sulfur in the atmosphere, because it is based on science. Like when a large volcano will erupt and it pushes all that sulfur and other particles into the air, 20 miles above the, into the stratosphere, it does actually cause cooling, because it's now reflecting the sunlight that used to get through to the earth down to the surface, is no longer making it all the way. So there is scientific evidence that this might work, but it's highly controversial.
Wasn't sulfur like one of the main ingredients in acid rain from the 70s and 80s?
I don't remember.
And don't we have low sulfur diesel requirements for all our trucks specifically because of this?
Well, if it's 20 miles up in the atmosphere, that's above the rain. So I don't know. Anyways, the article is actually much longer. I just thought it was funny because it's not that long ago that I read Termination Shock, and it was what is it? What's the phrase? Art imitates science? No, whatever it is, science is trying to imitate
science
art.
Fiction becomes science fact. I don't know.
Yeah. Anyways, it's an interesting article. It's somewhat of a gimmick. Even the company admits it, and it's a guy who used to lead up the hardware research for Y Combinator. So it's, of course, a software bro.
Oh God!
Well, I shouldn't say it like that. It's a software dude who's trying to do this, and he is dedicating the rest of his life to global cooling methods, and this is one. So, okay. So there you go.
I need the article to explain to me how, even if it's released in the upper atmosphere, it doesn't come down and cause problems later on. Humans have a perfect record of interfering with ecologies and not having it come back and bite them. Yeah.
I can hear the sarcasm.
I have two something funs. Okay. But the first one is just kind of a little minor thing. So we got, for some unknown reason, this Cuisinart ice cream maker.
Okay.
And it's been sitting around the house for a long time and have not used it at all. But one of the things I did this weekend, or this past week, was I made ice cream.
And?
So have you ever made ice cream at home before?
Oh, yeah. I used to do it all the time as a kid. We had ice cream makers growing up as a kid.
Right?
We
had
a
little motor on the top.
Ice cream maker attachment for my KitchenAid. Yeah. We like making homemade ice cream.
Okay, but so hold on. So where you have like the ice and the rock salts and stuff like that?
Yeah. Done that too. It's kind of like, looks like a bucket.
Yeah. So that's what that's the only thing I've ever done. Sounds like you might already be in the 21st century. So maybe you've already done something like this. This is my first time with such a novel gadget. And I was like, okay, that is too easy and too delicious. In my previous ice cream making forays, you put everything in the big bucket. There was a paddle with the motor on top, and you had to keep ice on the outside of it. And, just speeded ice,
putting rock salt on.
And it was messy and a pain. And it was, okay. But this is, a thicker, it's like what would you say? Like a vacuum canister.
Mm-hmm.
So the actual can has thick walls, and inside is something that is frozen. So you stick the can
first, right?
in the freezer. Yeah.
Yes.
And then and it takes nothing. All you do is you put it in there, and it spins, and it's done. And it was magic. It was like science fiction turned into science fact. and the milk and the heavy whipping cream and the sugar turned into a deliciousness. Other than the fact that I did not read the instructions, of course. And
why would you?
No, why would you? And so I made two mistakes with my first batch. The first of which is you probably shouldn't use double stuff Oreos if you're going to make Oreo ice cream. It did leave quite a film on the top of your mouth. Tasted really good, but I think anyway. And then the second thing is I shouldn't have put them in at the beginning, because there was no discernible. It was not ice cream with Oreo cookies in it. It was just like Oreo ice cream, like all because it was, I put them in at the beginning, and it just beat them all up. It was well integrated. Tasted again,
it was chocolate ice cream.
Very, very, very good. But anyway, so that was my first like minor something fun. I was like, holy heck, this is I jumped from 1970s technology to like, I guess maybe 2005's technology. Okay, fine. Anyway, that was awesome. Okay. That was awesome. So anyway, I enjoyed that. Okay, right. My real something fun though was my wife sent me this link to the world's largest bee that they thought was extinct. I feel now that I'm looking at this again.
Is it in Japan, and has it battled Godzilla?
No, although the picture at the head sure looks like it could be. So this is a bee in Indonesia that is about 4 times bigger, 4 times longer. So I guess more if you go volume than a regular honeybee. And it is, I'll put the picture as the chapter art here. It is gigantic. It says, wingspans of 6 centimeters and, about 4 centimeters long. Yeah, I have definitely seen hummingbirds smaller than this. So this says, it said in 1859, while exploring the remote island of Bacan in Indonesia, this renowned naturalist Alfred Russel Wallace made the discovery of this Megachile Pluto, is what they call it, the world's largest bee. Says he described the bee as a large black wasp-like insect with immense jaws like a stag beetle. And yes, it's got immense jaws. But that was the only known sighting for more than a century. And then in 1981, it says biologist Adam Messer discovered several megachile nests on Bacan and neighboring islands. The quote is, "A sight so rare that locals said they'd never before seen the nests." And again, only sighting for decades, until a couple years ago, a couple other entomologists teamed up to go discover. But they actually, I think it's not entirely clear what came before what, but it says in early 2018, the pair saw a megachile specimen sold for $9,000 on eBay. So evidently there's this whole like subculture of collecting rare bugs, insects and or other specimens. And so this past January, it says in January, which I assume this means this last January, because I think this article was recent. Oh no, it says, even though the article was in, this article's it was from April of 22. But so in January of 19, they found it, or they went and they actually found, a nest at least. And it says that, The quote is, "It was absolutely breathtaking to see this flying bulldog of an insect we weren't even sure existed anymore."
Flying bulldog.
Those mandibles look brutal.
That's an image.
Yeah. So to hear the sound of its giant wings thrumming as it flew past my head, I cannot imagine. That would be crazy. Anyway, so there you go. World's largest bee.
Small hummingbird-sized bee.
Mega Chile Pluto. There you go.
All right, dude.
It's cool, huh?
That's cool.
One word.
I don't know if I saw one flying at me, I'd think it was fun.
I'd take your eye out.
More than that. All right, John.
Anyway. All right, my friend.
Sounds good.
Have a good night. Welcome to 2023. Happy New Year.
Yes. 2023.
It'll be a good one.
I will talk to you next week.
All right. Bye.
Bye.